All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Oyinka. Nice to meet you all. And we'll be going over the immune health today and just trying to adjust everything here so people can come in, join us, and we'll be good. Just a minute. Okay. Let's go ahead and have a word of prayer and we can start. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to come before your throne of grace and ask that you be with us. Thank you for the many blessings, the walk that we went on, the sunshine this morning, the birds that were singing. We just want to lift our hearts in praises to you and ask that you give us wisdom, knowledge, and a retentive memory as we go through the immune talk, that all that we're learning will be to the honor and glory of your holy name. For I've prayed in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right. Talking about the volume, just trying to see if I can maximize that. Is this better? Wow. I hope everybody can hear me. And if you can type on the chat to let me know. Thank you. All right, so we'll start. We'll get into it. The immune health. So what is this about? Of course, I'm Dr. Oyinka, for those who are just joining in, and we'll be talking about the immune health today. The immune health, this is the bodily system. And just a second. Okay, this is the bodily system that protects the body from foreign substances by producing an immune response. And this includes especially your thymus, the spleen, lymph nodes, special deposits of lymphoid tissue all over the body. You have the GI tract, which would be like a very good example because it's all over the GI tract. That's your gastrointestinal tract. And then you have your bone marrow, of course, where the white blood cells are actually being produced. And you'll also have macrophages, which are a type of white blood cells, and you have lymphocytes, the B and the T cells, and these produce antibodies. Your immune response system produces a coordinated response to protect the host from and remove ongoing infection. So if there is a bacteria that's the body is exposed to, then you have the immune response that will actually be mounted to try to protect the host, your body, from the bacteria and also remove this bacteria ultimately so it doesn't produce like reproduce in the body. The key is the ability to distinguish for the immune system itself, to distinguish the self from non-self. And moving on. There are different types of immune response, and you have the innate and the adaptive response. These responses, we'll be explaining them further. Your innate response, the natural, non-specific, this is the first one that actually responds to any type of invasion to the body. This is the body's immediate response, first line of defense, and it's more of an inflammatory response. So you'll have, like the example here, your redness, swelling, pain, just to let you know there's something going on. The innate response utilizes such things as your physiochemical barriers, like your skin, mucosal epithelial, secreted products, like your sweat, your mucus, your gastric acid. It also involves the epithelial activation, increased vascular permeability, so the white blood cells can actually come through the blood vessels to where the infection is taking place or invasion is taking place, and vasodilation to bring more blood to that area. And its purpose is to limit, then repair any damage that is done. All right. The adaptive response, which is the second type of response, is acquired or specific. And this is brought into play if our innate defenses are unsuccessful. It is initiated when the lymphocytes, your B cells and your T cells recognize components of the infectious agent. It needs time to develop and remembers what it sees. So it's like it has a memory to it, and it's able to remember, okay, I saw this bacteria 2 years ago, 10 years ago, and now I just need to activate more white blood cells to come and attack the bacteria, and they already know what to do. All right, moving on. Things you can do to boost your immune system. First of all, what does it mean to boost the immune system? This is helping the immune system itself to function in the right manner before it is attacked by any foreign enemy. And you can imagine if you have an army, a country with an army, and the army is not ready, and you have an invasion from some enemy soldiers. If the army is not ready to be able to respond, this will only cause chaos and pandemonium, and in the end, the country is invaded, right? But comparing this to the immune system, same thing, if the immune system is not ready to be able to attack and defend the body, then you get to the point where the body is taken over by whatever this infection is, a bacteria, virus, or whatever else is going on. But if the army is ready, which would be your white blood cells, your immune system, ready to be able to attack and defend the body, then you will not have the microorganism, whatever it is, actually attacking or being able to take over the body. All right, there are different ways to boost the immune system. Just moving on. First one that we'll be talking about would be your exercise. So you went on your morning walk. You were able to spend time with Dr. Julie, and this actually has a place in boosting the immune system, an immune response that your body actually gives. How does it do this? Well, during each bout of moderate exercise, so we're looking at exercise from anywhere from 30 minutes to about an hour, and you don't have to exercise vigorously, just going for a morning walk. Of course, not a stroll. You actually want it to be a walk, not too fast, too brisk, where you're not able to catch your breath, but just enough to give you that sense of a good exercise. So during each bout of moderate exercise, you have enhanced recirculation of immunoglobulins. So these are the proteins that are produced by the white blood cells. Then you have your neutrophils also, and your natural killer cells. So these are actually circulating even more in the body. And then you have as the white blood cells are actually circulating even more, this persists for the next 3 hours after you have exercised. And moderate exercise on a near daily basis for 12 to 15 weeks would actually give you a more post-exercise immune response. The number of symptoms, so an actual study was done where they had people exercising for 12 to 15 weeks, about 5 days in the week. And the number, they exposed them to an upper respiratory infection like the flu. The number of symptom days with the URI actually decreased 25 to 50% when compared with the randomized sedentary group, the group that was not exercising. And epidemiologic and animal studies also support this inverse relationship between your URI, which is the upper respiratory infection risk, and increased physical activity. And of course, this study was just for the upper respiratory infection, but you can imagine what was going on in the entire body. So not just the upper respiratory infection that you will be protected from, but even other things. Recent evidence indicates that maintaining leanness, physical activity lifestyle reduces systemic inflammation. And what is inflammation? This is when the body is actually reacting to an injury, trauma, or infection. You have the inflammation. An example of that would be if you had a cut on your skin and you have the opening, it's bleeding. What happens after a few minutes? You see that not only are you having pain, but you start to have swelling. You also have not just the swelling itself, but some type of redness that's happening. And if you touch it, of course, it's even more tender. The pain increases, and this is your example of inflammation. And when we talk about leanness, so you have your BMI. A lot of people are very familiar with the body mass index. Your BMI, so your normal will go from 18.5 to 25. If we're talking about leanness, instead of being closer to the 25 for the BMI, you want to be closer to like 20s, because that leanness in itself just helps the immune system. The body doesn't have to do so much to be able to protect itself. And you have nutrition. This is a huge part of the immune system boosting, because for good immune function, your plant-based diet would be the best. This, it has been proven by research to be the diet that actually promotes non-inflammation. If you start to add your animal products, the meats, the fish, the dairy products, they actually promote inflammation. And foods that you want to focus on are those that are high in antioxidants. And also your examples will be your berries, different types of berries. You have the blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberry, and then your citrus and your leafy greens. The more specific things to focus on with a plant-based diet, you want to promote the consumption of fruits, vegetables, and this will be fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and herbs. And you have your examples there. And things to avoid. You want to avoid excess sugars. Of course, research has shown that just taking a teaspoon of sugar, if you have it, like mix it in your cereal and you drink, you eat that, drink the milk, you actually, if you're observing the white blood cells, once that sugar gets into the system, the white blood cells start to get sluggish, and it gets to a point where they're not even able to move properly. This, of course, is the white blood cells, which is your first line of defense, your innate response. If it is affected, then you can imagine what will happen if you're having exposure to bacteria. So you want to avoid excess sugars, fats, highly processed foods, your cereals, especially the frosted ones, the ones with sugar in it. And when I say cereal, I'm talking about the boxed cereal. If you have your rolled oats, those are actually good. Animal products, we talked about that, and the byproducts, and any other high fatty foods. And you have the example here, your French fries and your regular burger. You want to also have sunshine. Some of you went for the walk this morning, and you could see that the sun that was shining. This actually improves your production of vitamin D. Daily sunshine exposure, if you have enough skin exposure, your body is able to make its own vitamin D. If you're not able to make the vitamin D, you go in and to your primary care doctor and you have your vitamin D level checked, or you have it checked with us, and your vitamin D level is low. You actually want to start not just the sunshine, but also having some type of supplementation. The supplementation, you want to be careful with this. That's why a doctor or physician has to be someone that's monitoring you while you're taking the supplementation, because you don't want to have excess of vitamin D. And this is because if you go too high, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, and that means if you're taking in too much, the body just keeps storing it in the fat. And you don't want to have too much. You can actually have side effects from that. But your daily sunshine, do not miss that. So the vitamin D has actually been shown to enhance your immune function. Non-classical effects of vitamin D have been recognized for many years, but it is only recently that these have been accepted as a potentially significant component of vitamin D physiology. Immune cells, such as your macrophages, have been shown to actually have machinery in it that is that actually helps to synthesize vitamin D. It actually uses the vitamin D, and especially when it is exposed to any type of challenge. So you were using the example of the cut. You have a cut on your skin, and your body is exposed to like a bacteria, for example. The immune cells, especially the macrophages, have been shown to actually use the vitamin D, especially when it sees the foreign body, the bacteria in this case, and it uses that to enhance its immune function. Vitamin D, which this is how it is actually, this is what is measured in the blood. It stimulates your innate, the macrophage immunity by enhancing bacterial killing, but it also modulates adaptive immunity to minimize inflammation, we talked about that, and autoimmune disease. What is autoimmune disease? This is when, remember at the beginning we were talking about the definition of the immune system. The definition includes your body actually being able to, or your immune system being able to recognize self and being able to recognize non-self. If you have an autoimmune disease, you actually see where the white blood cells or your immune system is not able to recognize self and starts to attack self. And so your vitamin D actually helps to modulate the adaptive immunity, which is the second type of immunity. You have your innate and adaptive. It modulates the adaptive so it can recognize self and you don't have your autoimmune diseases. The virus is sensitive to ultraviolet rays. So this is a good one, ultraviolet rays coming from the sunshine and heat. So if you're in your house, you want to open up the blinds, open up the curtains, and let the sun shine into the space where you are. All right, continuing. Air is also very, very necessary for your immune system. Exercising outside in pure air, opening your windows, as we talked about with the sunshine, you also want to open it so that the fresh air can come in. And all known cases of the COVID-19, which is the disease that's actually going around now, your coronavirus disease 2019. This has the cases that have been reported where you had transmission actually happening have been in confined spaces. So being outside actually helps your immune system. The other thing you also have to remember is your body uses oxygen, right? And with the oxygen, you want to give a fresh supply of oxygen to your body as much as possible, because this will actually help with the oxygen, it gives the cells what to work with. All right, just a few minutes. I'm just taking a few seconds to just find out someone is unmuted. If your microphone is on, please unmute it. Unmute your microphone. All right, we'll just continue with the talk. So you also have air. We talked about air, and now we're talking about water. For the water, you have your internal and your external. Internally, you need to be hydrated. This helps to keep the blood, the circulation actually flowing right. You don't want your blood to be sluggish, not able to actually take the oxygen we just talked about, the fresh oxygen to where it's needed in the body, to the cells. And also, inversely, you can see that it's not just taking the nutrients and the oxygen that's needed to where it's needed, but taking away the carbon dioxide and the waste from the body. And this actually helps if you're having your good circulation. This helps so that your body can actually function right. And if you have good circulation also, the white blood cells are able to get to where they need to get to on time, so that you don't have the bacteria or whatever is invading, virus, taking over before you can actually mount an immune response. Also externally, so that's internally. Of course, there are other functions, but we're just focusing on the immune response at this point. Externally, you can use water in hydrotherapy. So for those who know about the COVID-19, if you're not exposed yet, and you're at home or wherever you are and you're trying to boost your immune system, we'll be talking about things that you can do to boost the immune system. Those who have like an early exposure can also use this. So you have your contrast shower, talking about water. In your shower, you can alternate between your hot and cold, beginning with the hot as you can take it, of course. Don't scald yourself. It should not be painful, as in scalding. And you want to end with the cold. You have cycles, so you have 3 minutes of the hot shower, and you have the short cycle, which would be the cold, 30 seconds. So you have your hot cycle, you're going for 3 minutes, and then you switch it to the cold as you can take it, and you go for 30 seconds, and you switch back and forth. And so one cycle would be your hot, ending with the cold. You go back to the hot, and switching between the hot and the cold, and you want to go for 5 exchanges. This should not be too vigorous for you or your health. If you have heart disease, any type of heart condition, if you're elderly, or you have balance issues, you have to be very, very mild with the temperature changes. You don't want to have a whole big contrast between the changes, the hot and the cold. And you want to limit it to what you can tolerate. Consider using a shower chair during the shower if you're weak. All right. Just a minute. That's your caution. You also have rest. Complications of chronic sleep deprivation include immune suppression, thus increasing susceptibility to infections. Your first, when you're sleeping, the first few hours before midnight are actually very, very important. because this is when the brain is actually doing a lot of things, especially when we're referring to the immune response. This is when the brain actually drains its lymphatic system. And so you want to give an opportunity for the brain to be able to do that. Also, you want to have at least 7 to 9 hours every night of sleep. This will be your optimal number of hours. If you're getting anything less, you're being sleep deprived. And those who are well rested are better able to fight or resist infection. Insufficient sleep is a risk factor, of course, in part because of the inflammatory state that results from sleep disruption. If you're getting less sleep, your body is not able to actually kind of recalibrate itself. It just gets whatever you give it, and so the inflammatory state can persist if you're not able to get enough rest. Sleep loss has a role in mediating immune changes, as experimentally induced partial night sleep deprivation induces a pattern of immune alteration similar to that found in depressed and alcoholic patients. And if you think about this, if you see a person that's depressed, they're not able to function well, they don't want to do the normal things. And if you've seen actual alcoholics, if you've seen one and they have a wound, the wound actually has a longer period to improve and to actually heal. This is the same thing that's being seen in people that are that have insufficient sleep. Temperance. What is temperance? Avoiding the harmful, using wisely the good. You want to eat for health rather than taste, of course. And temperance also goes for other things like your sleep, drinking enough water, avoiding alcohol, highly processed foods, caffeine, sugar, smoking. If there's any time when you want to avoid all of these, it will be now, especially with the COVID-19 that we're seeing out there. All right, moving on. You want to maintain a good attitude. Your thoughts, your attitude, if they're negative or positive, this can actually have a direct effect on your immune system. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. That's from the Bible, Proverbs 17, 20, verse 22. And you know that your bone marrow is found in the bones itself. The last part of the verse says that a broken spirit actually dries up the bone. If your broken spirit is drying up your bone, then your bone marrow doesn't produce the white blood cells that it actually needs to be produced. There was a study that was done on 124 first-year law students. They actually divided them into two groups, and they wanted to see the relationship between personal optimism and your cell-mediated immunity. The relationship between personal positive or negative emotion and cell-mediated immunity. The results, they actually checked them 5 times during the year. It was over a period of 1 year, checking both groups, the ones that were optimistic and the ones that were not so optimistic about their schooling. And you know, of course, law students, they're already stressed out. the results that were found was that changes in the cell-mediated immunity across time correlated with changes in optimism. When optimism was increased, your cell-mediated immunity was also increased. But when optimism was decreased, the cell-mediated immunity was actually decreased also. So those who are joyful, loving, peaceful, kind are better able to resist infection. A strong relationship with God, who alone is love, decreases susceptibility to infection by improving the immune system. And of course, talking about trusting God, God always blesses our feeble efforts if we only trust in Him. So more specific for the COVID-19, you have some herbs and supplements that actually help. The NAC, which is your N-acetyl L-cysteine. Studies on adults taking 600 milligrams of the NAC twice a day for 6 months showed that those that were taking it had 25% of those that were taking it and were exposed to the influenza virus. 25% had symptoms when they were infected. But of the arm that was not taking the NAC, 79% of those receiving the placebo had the symptoms when they were actually exposed to the influenza virus. Herbs that have been shown to have some antimicrobial properties, ginseng, andrographis, yotuya, wild indigo, echinacea, elderberry, amkaloaba, and of course zinc. It's not an herb, but that has been also shown to have some antimicrobial properties. Of course, this doesn't compare with having your antibiotics or antiviral medicines, but if you're thinking about prevention, you want to boost your immune system, then you can go ahead and take these and they'll actually help to boost the immune system. For more details on the herbs, you can go to the ucheepines.org, the COVID-19 tab, and you'll have an article there that where you can find the information. And this is just references for the herbs. Now, talking about hydrotherapy, we started to talk about that when we touched on water. And hydrotherapy, you can actually use in so many different ways to be able to, just a second. Okay, to be able to actually go to function better, have your immune system function better. All right. So we talked about contrast shower. If you're just enhancing your immune system, you do it to the point where you can tolerate it. You don't have to be so vigorous. But what happens if you actually have the infection, you've been exposed? You start to have a fever, you can still do the contrast shower, but this time around, you want to be a little bit more vigorous than at first. Of course, still following the cautions, heart disease, elderly, or if you have balance issues, you want to make sure that you are taking it, you're very, very mild with the exchanges, your temperature changes, and you want to use a shower chair if you have balance issues or if you start to get weak. And you can do a hot foot bath. How do you do the hot foot bath? Get water as hot as you can tolerate it. You don't want to scald yourself. You always want to remember that. No more than 103 degrees Fahrenheit if you're diabetic or you have circulatory problems in the legs, feet, and you want to avoid it entirely if you have a blood clot in your leg or you have open wounds. So you get a basin, or you can do it in your bathtub. Fill that with water. And the basin is one that's you can actually see fit your feet into. You can put your feet into comfortably, and you can fill it with water to the point just above the ankle. And you want to wrap yourself in a blanket while you have your feet in the hot water. And a good thing to do is to sit down, because this might take 20 to 30 minutes. So if you're using your tub, you want to sit on the edge of the tub, have your feet in the water, be wrapped up in the blanket. And if it's the basin that you're using, then you want to have a chair. You sit on that and wrap yourself up 20 to 30 minutes. You want to drink a lot of water frequently also as you're doing this, because you will be sweating. And just touching back on the hot foot bath. Once you're done with the hot foot bath, taking your feet, either draining the water from your tub, or you want to take your feet out and you want to pour some cold water over your feet. This actually helps because the blood vessels that have been dilated actually constrict, so you don't have a lot of congestion still going on. Just cool down the feet. And of course, drinking water, because you'll be sweating. You want to take a hot bath too. That's another thing you can do. Keep your head cool while with a washcloth and ice water while doing this, because you don't want to feel weak, dizzy. All right, and you will be working up a sweat. So what do? In your tub, you want to fill it with hot water. You get into the tub, and of course, as hard as you can take it, don't scald yourself. And you sit in there. You can sit from 15 to 20 minutes. You will be sweating, but mostly you'll be seeing this on your forehead. But you want to remember to cool your head down with a washcloth and ice water. Of course, dip the washcloth in the ice water and put it over your forehead or your head itself. And if it's getting warm, you want to dip it back in the cold water and put it back. You will work up a good sweat and keep yourself hydrated. Now, if you have health conditions that stop you from running or jogging, you don't want to do this treatment. It will make your heart pump as if you were jogging, the hot foot bath. So you want to remember this. You do not want to do it if you have any condition that keeps you from running or jogging. All right, and this is saying if you begin to feel ill, like you're having more problems or symptoms, I should say, if you're already infected, sore throat, headaches, body aches, chills, fever, then you want to get more aggressive with the contrast shower. You want to go for 5 to 7 exchanges instead of your 3 to 5. You want to do your hot foot bath, still the same cautions that we talked about before. You want to also do the hot bath, still using the same caution. Then you want to start resting. It was shown during the Spanish flu pandemic. This was back in 1918, 1919. The flu pandemic back then, if they had early initiation of total bed rest for 2 to 3 days, even after the fever was resolved. So while the fever was going on, you had bed rest, but then 2 to 3 days even after the fever was resolved, those people actually tended to do much better. They were able to avert going into like your pneumonia or any other complications. And they were more likely to recover and not have any complications afterwards. You have your hot and cold applications. Fomentations to the chest if you start to have chest congestion, along with a hot foot bath as you're doing this. So you're laying down in this treatment, and you have the basin. Of course, you cannot be in the tub at this point. You have the basin at your feet, and you're putting your feet into the basin, but laying down and having a heating pad right under your upper back, and also having a heating pad over the chest. Or for those that have fomentations, you apply the fomentations instead. You want to wrap wet cloths, like if you have the fomentation pad, it's moist and hot, so you want to wrap it in a dry towel so you're not getting burned or scalded, and it's not too hot. And you place this over the chest for 3 to 5 minutes. Take that off, and you have the same washcloth with water, ice water. You want to put the washcloth in, you squeeze out the excess water, and you use this as a cold friction rub over the chest for 30 seconds, and you put that away, and you put your hot heating pad or fomentation pad back on. And you do this, you want to have at least five exchanges. And once you're done, you want to end with the cold. You don't want to end with the hot. You want to take the heating pad that's underneath the back out, and you want to rinse your feet. Don't forget your feet in the hot water. You want to rinse that with a nice cold water that just flows over it. All right. This just explains more about the details of the hot and cold applications, your chest rub, chest fomentations. All right. Rehydrating, you want to drink plenty of water. You definitely want to be hydrated while you're ill, because the hydration helps, as we talked about, to bring the circulation, help the circulation going better, and bringing in your fresh nutrients, your oxygen, and taking away the waste. And you want to even drink more water if you're sweating, if you go through treatments, because you want to replace the fluid that is lost through your sweat. And one of the rules for water that you can use is you take your weight in pounds, and you want to drink a cup of water for every 2 ounces. So if you have a person that's 140 pounds, for example, you want to be drinking 70 ounces of water a day. And when you're ill, you want to actually drink a little bit more to help with the sweating. Sweating can be done in your bathtub also with hot water. It's capable of eliminating many salts, drugs, toxins, and even some viruses. Research with the last SARS virus infection or epidemic that we had, the autopsy from the people that died during that showed that even the sweat glands had the viruses in them. So you can actually sweat out viruses. Be certain to keep the head cool, or you may feel weak and dizzy after the treatment is over. And once you're done with the treatment, with any type of heating treatment, you always want to end with the cold. For the hot bath, you want to actually cool yourself down before getting out. You want to drink enough water. Onion poultice, this is one of my favorites. This decreases cough, sputum production in cases of lower respiratory infections. So what do you do? How do you get the onion poultice? You blend half an onion, medium-sized onion, in a blender. Just add enough water to make it a paste. And you want to have your paper towel, your onion poultice, the paste that you just made, put that on, and then you want to cover it with another paper towel. And this just helps you, if you think about it, having a sandwich. You have your paper towel, the onion paste, and another paper towel. You have a nice poultice right there. And you take your clothing off, you put it right on your chest. And you want to hold this in place with like saran wrap. And then wear a t-shirt that's actually tight that can also help to hold it in place, and wear another sweater or flannel shirt over that t-shirt. And you want to do this at night, just before you're going to bed, and then you go to bed and sleep with it overnight. In the morning, take it off and clean yourself. This has actually been shown to help. And this is just more explanation on the same. And the last part, your nature's penicillin. Of course, it's not the real antibiotics. It's just what we call it. You want to blend 1 orange, 1 grapefruit, 2 lemons, 3 cloves of garlic, half of a large onion in a blender with enough water, of course, to be able to blend it. Blend this all together, add 3 drops of peppermint, you mix that in, and you want to drink 1 cup throughout the day. And this will actually help. Of course, you know about the citrus fruits. They boost your immune system, and they have some antimicrobial properties too. And you have your garlic, same thing. You have your onion, same thing. And so you're taking this as your nature's penicillin to help. All right, we've gone through the actual lecture. Of course, stay safe. And I will be removing the okay, removing this. And here we go. Thank you all for listening.